Hey there, welcome to this episode of Tennessee Farm to Family. Let our team of extension agents bring the farm to your family. We'll explore all things agriculture and talk about how it gets to your table, fridge, or pantry. Meet farmers, stomp out misinformation, and grab a sneak peek into agri-search and outreach efforts. We're going to have some fun today with this. Hopefully you all have listened to some of our more educational things, and today we're going to continue down that road of demystifying some of the things, but today we're going to talk about crop circles and Wampus cats and conspiracy theories and whatever. So we're just going to see where this. We've all had some kind of uncanny experiences. We might touch into old wives' tales, things that we've always heard our grandparents or great grandparents say, and how that kind of relates to how we farm and how we produce food. So, fellas with the tinfoil hats, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we're just going to talk about what keeps us up at night. You know, when I was in Obion County, we had these issues with a fella thought he had some crop circles in his soybean field, went out there to take a look at it, and on closer inspection, these supposed crop circles turned out to be where some darn kid had got out there on a four-wheeler cutting donuts in his fields. So, unfortunately, those crop circles are a whole lot more common than what we would like to see up that direction. I'm sure, Garrett, you probably done some of that when you were
there's a bunch of unruly kids coming from that part of the world.
Yeah, degenerates like yourself. So
I turned out all right.
Yeah, definitely West Tennessee to be sure. But let me address the elephant in the room is the tinfoil hats. We have had some problems with the University of Florida really trying their best to get some of our best research. And Justin and I, we take precaution. And we want to keep them out of it, especially after this last week.
4 of us are not a threat.
Well, he's got a lot of insider information, and he knows a lot about the crop circles too, and they're trying to do some research there as well.
And we've got one of our agents up there in Northwest Tennessee. He's from Florida, so
yeah.
I'm worried he might be a bit of a mole.
The mole inside UT Extension.
Yeah. Anyhow, if y'all hadn't figured it out by now, today's kind of a tongue-in-cheek for fun episode. We got Halloween coming up, so but for real, there are several misnomers and myths and whatnot that tend to proliferate the agricultural world, and so we're going to try to knock out a few of those today. So, Tracy, what are some of the myths that you've dealt with through your years with Extension?
Well, I think not really with Extension, but just growing up with some, old school kind of upbringing and hearing things. And I thought what it was fascinating when I got to college is to learn some of the science behind why those things were occurring in agriculture. But I mean, some of the things and still to this day, people believe, and we all, would castrate our animals based on signs on this almanac calendar. You all talked about weaning children, etc. I don't understand that. I really didn't take the time to educate myself on that. But I mean, some of them we see float around Facebook too, or float around the interwebs now, about persimmons, cutting them open. What do you think?
So one of the old wives' tales I always heard growing up was if you take a persimmon this time of year and you split the seed open and look to see what you've got inside that seed, you'll either have a knife shape, a fork shape, or a spoon shape. So if you've got a persimmon with a spoon shape in it, you can expect it's going to be a whole lot of snow that winter. You're going to be shoveling snow. You cut it open, you got a knife shape type deal in there. You're going to be cutting cold. But if it's a fork inside that persimmon, it's a fat winter. It's going to be pretty mild. And you're going to be all right. Hopefully won't have to feed quite as much hay. So really, whenever you get to looking at it, it all depends on how you cut the doggone persimmon. And it all comes down to the angle of it, and how your knife passes through that, the seed as to what kind of a shape you're going to get in the middle of it. So as far as being scientifically viable, it's a wives' tale, it's, just something that for entertainment purposes, I wouldn't necessarily bank on it.
So myth busted.
Myth busted.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Talking about weather predictions, though, what about Drew, you want to talk about the Isabella tiger moth? What was that?
Well, as going in towards winter, when you look at a woolly worm, which I just found out I've been getting wrong this entire time. And we've all called them woolly worms. I guess it was the darker the color, the harsher the winter.
Yeah, so the more black coloring that it had, the harsher the winter, the more brown. So all of them have a band in the middle, but the more brown that's on them is the milder winter, the less brown, more black, so the harsher the winter. So but you got to make sure you get the right one. Go look up Joe Griffey's video.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Joe Griffey had a Facebook live video a few years ago that went viral according to our standards that helped you properly identify the right woolly worm because there are some all black woolly worms, there are some all orange woolly worms, but make sure you're getting the right one with the bands, and then it's the width of the band that tells you a prediction of how much wood you need to cut or extra hay you need to buy to care for your livestock or your family. So
Joe's the foremost authority on the woolly worm caterpillar.
which we know is not a worm at all, but that's, what we call it. So,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, along with these conspiracy theories and whatnot and wives' tales, I guess the big elephant in the room is the Farmer's Almanac. And that's one that I've not yet figured out how to debunk it. It's kind of like Sasquatch. I mean, how is it that this thing, half the time works? I don't understand it. But my theory is, I don't know. I mean, my wife's grandmother, she is, hard boiled by this doggone thing. And she's got all these different things that she does, like if you've got a wart, she says that she could take a penny and rub it on that wart and it would go away. And I saw her do that to my father-in-law one time and it worked. And I can't figure out what it is other than that my wife's grandmother's a witch. That's the only thing I can do with it. She's a sweet lady, but she's a witch. That's all I can come up with.
Maybe she's not watching, or you might get short on the Christmas list.
You're getting a penny.
Or maybe cast a spell and you'll have wart.
Yeah, let's hope not.
I have been at farms where the calves had warts and we fed them to the calves.
We've done that as well.
Yeah, so that's a real interesting thing. And the science behind that is, it's a virus. Warts are a virus. So you feed that to the animals and then it creates antivirus or to fight that off. So that was one natural way to
Very similar
remedy
to
that.
vaccine,
Yeah.
It's essentially an on-farm vaccine that works to help them fight that virus.
Yeah.
So another thing with calves, though, you talk about castrating by the signs. I have a buddy that believes in that hardcore, and he said the signs. I'm not an astrologist, guys. I don't know this stuff, but he says if the signs are in the lowest part of the body, they're going to bleed less, or if they're in the wrong part of the body, they're going to bleed more. And you have people like that, and some people who say that the signs are right when the knife is sharp, and that means they just go there whenever they go. And being somebody who has a 40-hour week job and farms on the side, the signs are right when I have a day off. So
on castrating calves, if the knife is sharp, you're good to go. And if you're worried about it, get a Henderson castration tool so you can tie those vas deferens back and not have to worry at all. At that point, the signs become Newton bullet on trying to castrate. So
Every time we castrated, if there was a little heavy blood, we would always say the signs are right, but that didn't stop us from working the entire time. And I'll be like, I don't know what this means, but we just say that. It becomes natural.
Right.
yeah, it's the scapegoat in the room,
But there's also, they say to wean calves by the moon as well. And you were talking about it earlier, didn't you? Y'all got Emmett off a pacifier by the moon, didn't you?
Yeah, my little boy. So my little boy, we were my wife's grandmother. Something to this, guys. I don't know. We were talking to him. We were saying, "Oh, we're looking at weaning the boy off of this pacifier." She says, "Well, do it on such and such date because the signs are right." We're like, what do we got to lose? So we done it by such and such date. It just kind of happened organically, as we say. He set his pacifier down one time before bed, and we took it away from him. He never knew where it went after that. All 30 of them disappeared, and he never really fussed about a pacifier after that. So I don't know if there's something to it or not. If I got the world's best baby, or if the signs are right. I have no idea, but it was pretty legit. The same thing for weaning him off of a bottle and getting him on a sippy cup. We followed the signs, and he never fussed a minute after the fact. So I don't know.
I never thought to consult the almanac calendar in my child rearing. I thought maybe I should have.
I cannot
I thought that
confirm
was
or
for
deny
cattle
the
only.
legitimacy. No, apparently it works on infant youngins. So
I weaned and we potty trained on almanac.
signs, yeah.
Well, this is some good knowledge. I need to learn this stuff. I'm assuming everybody knows their own astrological sign. What's yours?
I have no idea.
Because that plays a role as well, I'm sure.
This is one of those things I wish that I could give some kind of research-based information why something does or doesn't work, but it's still, I guess I need to continue to do a little bit of research on that myself, the jury's still out. So.
Well, there's just some fascinating things that you kind of grow up, and Lee and I have talked about it. Like, I know one we mentioned is well, we just went through August, and the number of fogs in August predicts how many snows you're going to have in the winter and things like that. And I think it goes back to we talk about, educating yourself. They didn't have a lot of resources back in the day. Farmers prior to, there wasn't a lot of access to knowledge. And so they just went by what they observed, what they figured out, what they had heard, that worked or didn't work, and a lot of trial and error. So I think a lot of these things just kind of play into that and keeping them in business, keeping their families fed and that sort of thing.
Farmers are students of observation. Even in modern day farmers are students of observation because we observe our crops, looking at it nutritionally, whether they're needing something or really tell the drought. But, the farmers in the turn of the century didn't have all these scientific, we didn't have the TVs and we didn't have all these weather forecasters just telling it's going to be a certain percent of rain by 10 o'clock in the morning. They had to look at the observation of what they've learned over watching animals and livestock and nature, how they responded to those things. And, I always heard my grandparents say, well, you weren't going to have a frost if the red oaks leaves the size of a mouse's ear. And I've kind of watched it, and it's works out pretty close. So, we all grew up and they were observers of nature and signs.
Yeah, one that I stumbled upon, and then I remember my dad and grandparents saying was the first frost. You could predict a first frost 6 weeks after you heard the katydid. So, when you hear the katydids outside in the summer, you mark the calendar and go forward 6 weeks, and that's supposed to be.
We're going to start keeping up with this and do some research on this every year. Start catching caterpillar, all this stuff.
Just a long-term collection of data from various counties.
But I'll say,
I could get a grant for this research.
Almanac research.
There you go. Consult the SARE program, see what you get.
There we go. So the wildlife, like deer hunters and stuff like that, they really pay attention to the signs and stuff. And I've always heard some people that are maybe farmers and deer hunters and stuff talking about the cows are up eating, the deer are going to be up eating, stuff like that. I think it's kind of funny. I do kind of watch that stuff sometimes, but there are some people who swear by those signs, by the moon phases and stuff like that, deer movement. And there's some people who say, no, not at all. So it's just kind of funny to go back and forth and see the rhetoric on it.
The Farmer's Almanac, people say don't plant squash on Twins Day because you're going to end up with twin squash. That thing will fly.
What is Twins Day?
What is Twins Day?
Uh-huh.
It's in the almanac.
Oh,
I'm not sure what the sign what it means, but I've always heard.
We don't say, we just had to study
I
into
plant
it.
my garden when I got time, and I don't think it's going to frost again, which sometimes I push the envelope on that. Yeah. I think all farmers who talk about predicting weather kind of by observation, and if you could predict the weather, you could make it farming. You really could. But,
You'd be wealthy.
You can't. Unfortunately, we're still at the mercy of Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
So as the new Tennessean in the room, I think I need to know a little more about Wampus cats and West Tennessee.
Oh man! So this is also where the tinfoil hat comes in because it's a conspiracy. This is when we can go real deep on. So. And I have studied on this one. So perfect. Yeah. Oh yeah. We can get deep on this one. Perfect. So back in September of 2015, Obion County. This was right after I moved out of Obion County. He knew I was gone.
Yeah, that's why he
it was
showed up.
safe to move in. He knew I'd probably shot him and made a rug otherwise. So I guess it was around September 2015. There was a confirmed trail cam picture of a mountain lion in Obion County. And so it was in a soybean field on trail cam. TWRA went out and certified that, yes, we do have mountain lions in the state of Tennessee. Although, they predicted that they were just passing through, which if we really go down the rabbit hole, I think that it was, in fact, just passing through because just, I guess it was right after archery season opened up, there was supposedly somebody that had shot a mountain lion in Carroll County. And so they sent the arrow off and the DNA on that figured that it was from up around the Black Hills area. Not long after that, about a month or so after, there were trail cam pictures of it in Humphreys County. Short time after that, there was trail cam pictures, I believe, either in Perry County or Wayne County. So as if you put it on a timeline and you take and where these different, DNA evidence and pictures popped up at, you can kind of draw on a map where it had traveled through from Obion County down to Carroll over to Humphreys and then down and then presumably on south into Alabama presumably. Since then, I don't know how many confirmed sightings that there have been for this critter, but my common sense and outlook on it is, if we do have mountain lions, with as many folks that have got trail cams and technology out there in the woods now that are observing as much of the wildlife and deer population as we see, then we would be seeing much more pictures of these critters out and about. And also, if we've just got one that's passing through within that time frame, the likelihood of it, reproducing within this area is very, very slim. So my thoughts on that particular conspiracy is, we do not have a reproducing population of mountain lions in the state of Tennessee. Now, can it be completely confirmed? No more so than we could completely confirm or deny Bigfoot, but it's very unlikely.
I don't know. I've seen several sightings in Crockett County.
Crockett County.
Now, here's my thing.
Really get wild.
Here's my thing. Now, you may be right. They may have been coming through West Tennessee. All right. Their patterns may show that, but they have made their home in Middle Tennessee.
Do you think you've got
Whether somebody has, picture on their cam, there are thousands of people in Middle Tennessee that have seen a cougar in their backfield once a week, just like we see murder hornets once a week in our counties. Now, do we actually have the murder hornet? No. Do we actually have a sighting of the panther? Maybe. It is debatable. But I do think that their panthers have sort of made a home in Middle Tennessee.
All I know is in Obion County, there was a jump in large tomcats being accidentally identified as a panther after that. So I take it with a grain of salt when somebody does
A feral house cat.
Yeah, it's a big tomcat. You get a big tomcat in somebody's backyard and they think,
they wearing a tinfoil hat.
Now,
that's all I'm saying.
Tracy, you bring up the Wampus cats over there in Crockett County, so I understand that there is a Facebook page called the Crockett County Wampus Cat Society.
Yeah, I think I was the second
They got,
picture.
y'all got T-shirts, right? So yeah, we've got T-shirts for the Crockett County Wampus Cat Society. So before these cats was ever confirmed in Obion County or anywhere else, it was always kind of a wives' tale or frequent sightings. My cousin saw a black panther, or my cousin saw a cougar at such and such place. And whenever I was a little kid, I thought that I saw a cougar at such and such place down in Decatur County. But if you really get to looking at it, the feasibility of it is very, very slim. Now, on the matter of black panthers, my great grandfather swore up and down that he saw a black panther back in the day before I was born. But the legitimacy of it is, we've got lots and lots of deer hunters that spend lots and lots of time out in the woods and have had lots of deer hunters for several decades. How many of these critters have ever been caught and actually confirmed? How many's ever been shot and confirmed? If we look at history, I don't think that there is a confirmed case of a black panther being taken at any point through American history necessarily. I've heard that they are actually a kind of a made up species that we do not have because we've never had a case of a melanistic. We've never had a case of a melanistic cougar that we know of. Now, what we do have in the southwestern United States, they do have jaguars that will come up.
We have Florida black panthers too.
Yeah.
So the jaguars will come up from South America, occasionally up out of Mexico. It's very, very uncommon. And in some cases, you can have melanistic jaguars, which means a black jaguar. But we've not got any scientific information that there ever has been a melanistic cougar or a melanistic mountain lion. And so that just kind of, in my mind, once again, debunks the thought of the black.
Are you talking about there's not been mountain lions ever in Tennessee? Because historically, we used to have plenty of mountain
Historically,
lions until David Crockett decided to kill them all.
Historically, the bear.
So now, historically, mountain lions were indigenous to the state of Tennessee. But what I'm getting at is the Black Panther theory. I do not believe the Black Panther has been in my opinion, and to the best of what research I've done, the Black Panther has been a wives' tale from day one back in the 1700s. Mm-hmm. So it's just
around Adams, Tennessee,
around the whole state.
Yeah.
I was going for Bell Witch, but
that's a different conspiracy there.
Well, I think, hunters, they spend time in the bottoms. We have technology now. You mentioned trail cameras, and even these door cameras are observing things that we never knew happened, that are just.
Like gators working for DoorDash.
Yeah, I'm not convinced it's not out there. I mean, also Bigfoot. So, anyway, I've, tried to that that tail is way too long to be a house cat or an old tomcat. So it's something.
See,
that,
my dad, swears up and down he saw one when he was shelling corn out back. I said, Dad, don't be that person. It's the one person on our end of the county that's going around saying that they saw panther. I said, are you sure it wasn't a bobcat? He's like, I know what I saw, Drew.
Yeah.
I know what I saw. I was like,
I know. My husband coon hunted a lot and spent time in the Hatchie Bottom, and he said, he's seen dogs come back tore up from something that was not a coon. That they would find their dogs or whatever. So I don't think there's science to prove it, but I don't think there's enough to disprove it either.
Well, the thing is, I think we live in a part of the world that could support them if it maybe wasn't so populated. I think you can see them in less populated areas. I was like, they could live here if they wanted to.
Oh,
they just choose not to because there's probably too many people.
Yeah.
Well,
And a lot of this also, I think, especially people like Lee see a lot with home horticulture. There's a lot of planting dates and things like that go by there. But I think as we've established, not all these things are false.
Right.
And they have their point in time. You just can't change astrology and signs and things like that. But there's a saying, when you know better, do better.
Right.
And we've got a lot of really great resources that can help with things. Every year box stores will have vegetables and summer annuals out in February or March or whatever. And we fight that battle every year of, you're not to past your last frost. You will be buying these again, And so I think there's always a good mix maybe between that of, I like what Lee had to say. Farmers are observers. Everything they do, back in Arkansas, I did a lot of our forages. We had a lot of ways to find out fall armyworm counts and their pressure and whatever. And I still fought against there's crows back there. Well, if a crow could see an armyworm in the sky, you're probably way past the
threshold.
He's an inch long, and he was an eighth of an inch is where we controlled him. So it's not wrong, but there's better ways to do things. And there's a lot of resources out there that can really kind of help us. There was a time and place, but there's a time and place for better information too.
Yeah, that's a great way to bring it all together. I think too, we just have resources. Would encourage you to utilize those. Utilize your local county extension office when you have questions about these things, planning dates, etc. We can provide you what you need. So with that, we've had some fun. Hope you enjoyed today. Hope Florida don't impose on us too much and steal this wonderful knowledge base we've had here. I think we're safe. Anyway, thanks you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.